Hey, Chris.
Yeah, Fred.
What's a Mason?
That's a really good question, Fred.
You've reached the internet's home for all things masonry. Join Chris and I as we plumb the depths of our ancient craft. From the common gavel to the trowel, nothing is off the table. So grab your tools and let's get to work. This is On the Level. All right, Chris.
Hello.
Woohoo! Where's the holler? Where's the Chris?
Yeah!
There it is. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
You
asked for it.
I asked for it. It's my fault. I get it. Wow.
Yeah.
What on earth?
Well, today's a big day for us.
Today is a big day for us.
Yeah.
It really is. We are able to right a terrible wrong.
Yeah.
Here, today.
Atoning for the sins and ignorances of our past.
For our sins and ignorance of the past. Mine especially.
No, it's a team thing.
It's a team. That's
all
right. We fail together.
Only one of us three is innocent in this group. You can hear him laughing.
You hear him in the background.
You know who it is. It's Most Worshipful Jeffrey Esfoster.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. And many of our fans don't know that during Grand Lodge communication, Most Worshipful Foster was one of our first interviews.
He was the reason we were doing these interviews.
Absolute reason for it. And, of course, the sound engineer, me, neglected to push save when I closed out his particular file, and of course the machine did exactly what I told it to do. It erased it.
Yeah.
So it was gone, and we could not find it. So
we sure spent months looking everywhere to try to see if we could find it.
Was like, and then Chris and I are like, well, now what do we do?
We have to apologize.
We're gonna have to get a hold of him and tell him how dumb we really are.
Yeah. Yes.
In 20 years, you'll find it. It'll be the lost recording.
Yeah. There we go. That's right. The lost recordings.
Yeah.
Of On the Level with Fred and Chris. Right.
The original, unedited. No. And we appreciate you coming and being a huge sport.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge sport for us.
So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, we interviewed you at Grand Lodge on the first day, I believe.
Yeah, it was definitely the first day. Yep.
Yeah,
He was our second interview. Actually, Haber,
Yeah.
Right Worshipful Haber was first.
Yeah.
And then Most Worshipful after that, and then
We said, "Oh, we know what we're doing," and really didn't know we hadn't.
we were
really
so confident. Absolutely.
No, but that was such an awesome experience because I didn't really know the weight of what we were doing at the time. We just wanted to interview people and tell their story and talk about who they are. But realized later it was awesome. So many people in the state, we know the names, we know the titles, but we don't really know the person. A lot of the people in the state are afraid to go to a grandmaster at a visit and shake their hand and strike up a conversation. Right. And so all they know is the grandmaster's words that get read at the visits and whatever the grandmaster says at the visit if they go. So I think this just has turned out to be an awesome way for especially the members of Florida to get to know the Grand Lodge people, the men behind the jobs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
It was so eye-opening to talk to everyone we talked to, and I was just shocked every time. Wow, you aren't who I thought you were going to be.
Right. Yeah, you guys are like real people.
Yeah,
wow.
Real people.
Yeah.
What?
And I can add to that if
yeah, go ahead. Yes, absolutely.
I don't think I know any past grandmasters or up and coming grandmasters that their feelings would be hurt if you didn't come up and shake their hand. That's one of the whole reasons, we're nobody special. We're just at the front of the pack right now. And, pretty soon we're going to be at the back of the pack with everybody else. And, that makes us one of, a brother. So there should be no reason why anybody doesn't want to come up and shake a Grand Lodge officer's hands, because we're not anything special. We're just brothers in a position.
Yeah, and I have found that to be absolutely true. We just had our Grandmaster visit over at Sarasota Sahib Shrine.
Yeah,
and
I
was feeling that same feeling, Most Worshipful, that you were talking about, going up and talking to.
As a brother, you felt hesitant,
right?
I shouldn't embarrass myself or whatever's going through your mind,
right? And of course, our current Grandmaster, Most Worshipful Bishop, was was just so gracious, and like you said, he's just a regular guy. I can tell he's the kind of guy, and I would just venture to say, Most Worshipful Foster, that he's probably kind of cut along the same cloth, maybe as you are, where very direct. You can tell, and I can tell too by talking to you as well, Most Worshipful, that you guys are really direct, which I, for one, absolutely appreciate.
Yes.
Because I would assume it's from your guys' military background is where that comes
I'm sure.
from.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
They learn not to mince
Except I know
words.
that our current grandmaster loves it when you come up and ask him for $5. Just go up and ask him for a $5
Oh,
bill.
inside baseball there. That's as good as done. We will definitely do that. We're hoping to interview him.
I know a setup when I hear one.
That's a setup, big time. Yes, a setup I'm willing to fall right into, just for fun. Absolutely. And we're gonna hopefully interview him and the First Lady when on their first visit down to the Shrine Home, down to the what am I trying to say? I know it went right out of your head. I saw it. You had it and it just left. Anyways, the
Masonic home.
Thank you, Masonic home in geez,
I was
not
really
enough coffee. In St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
So we'll interview him then, and that's one of the first things we're going to do. Of course, is ask him if we could borrow $5 immediately.
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
sure. On the air. Let's get his real reaction to that.
We'll see how that
I'm
goes.
curious to see what that's going to be now. But his wife, Odessa, she had such a interesting situation this year. I'm sure you've been to some of their visits, right? Most Worshipful.
I have.
Yeah, she printed out bios of every member in our district that is in the Masonic home, and she gave a speech about the people and how she wants to do things for the people, not the floors, not the walls, but the people. And it really struck me. I think she got choked up a bit when she was. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
some.
Well, they live real close to the Masonic home. I mean, they're in that. They live right there in Clearwater, which is right outside St. Pete. So she has the opportunity to spend a lot of time at the home, and she's become very. What am I trying to say? Very
Active?
very close with a lot of the residents of the home.
Right. Yeah, and I've done a little bit of work in different homes and retirement villages, and it's addictive. You go in there, and those people are they just want to sit down and have and talk with anybody about anything and be engaged. And when you do that, I don't care who you are. When you do that, it changes you. So I can only imagine her going in there. She seems like a woman with a big heart to begin with, who goes in there.
She does.
Yeah. So she's been totally captivated by it, and I'm, for one, am really glad because, we hear all these things about the Masonic home, this, that, and the other, and all this stuff, and all us men are trying to fix the walls and paint the ceilings, and now here comes the First Lady who goes in there and brings that, hey, I just want to help the people. And as soon as she started talking about it, she was pretty emotional about it, fairly emotional about it when she was talking about it. And so was the whole crowd. We all just were like, you know what? Okay, fine.
That emotion.
There's probably some conversations that need to happen about the system. But she's right. There are people in there who are that we're obligated to love and take care of, man. And I just love that direction. So that interview is going to be really good. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think when more people hear that, they'll get a lot more money for the cause this year, because it's just people are going to connect with that message big time.
Yeah, I'm resident to give up anything Masonic anywhere. I know that, for instance, the Sarasota Sahib Shrine, that building has been there for a long, long time, and they really struggled. They almost lost the thing. And
they were definitely on the verge. Yeah,
the fact that they're on the ascendancy and actually out of the red and into the black and making definite progress in the right direction, I feel the same way about that Masonic home. It's been there forever. It's ours. We're obligated to take care of it. It would take a lot to convince me to go any other direction but keep that thing right where it is.
Well, the Sahib Shrine was about to lose everything. And they didn't get an influx of members. They didn't get angel investors. The leadership changed. That's it.
Yeah.
The leadership
And
changed.
sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And that's a great point, Chris. That's exactly right.
Leadership can change everything. Good leadership, strong leadership that is lifting everyone around them up.
Right.
Everyone
right.
starts to rally, and you get momentum, and that momentum solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Most Worshipful, tell us what's been going on in so far in your year.
How is retirement?
Yeah, how's retirement going?
So
He's not retired.
retirement is great. I do miss, traveling around, but I don't travel as much as I used to. I kind of stay in the background. I try to limit myself, to what I'm actually going to do. Actually, I have a house that was neglected for 4 or 5 years, so I'm in the process of trying to redo all that.
We'll pray for you, brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I need it. I'm getting more involved in local events, right here in North Florida. Scottish Rite, other appendant bodies. Just trying to, take time and do things that I want to do, not that I need to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you've certainly earned that. So you yourself graduated high school in 1981. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then you went basically right out of high school into the Navy?
Yep. I took the summer off, and a matter of fact, in 10 days, 42 years ago, I believe, I showed up at boot camp.
Wow.
What was boot camp like for you? I never went into the military,
Yeah,
so
me neither.
I'm always like, you always like regret the path not taken. I started having kids at 19. I didn't have time for the military, but looking back, I wish I would have maybe taken that path first, because everyone that I meet that is a military person is just different than the rest of us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I really admire
you
some of
get
the traits.
Well, you get thrown into a different culture, a different environment than what most people are used to, because in a military environment, you're getting input from, different people from all over the country. So there's just not one social environment. You're getting it from all over the place. So you develop your own, and most people don't get to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you're at a young age, you're put into, difficult situations, and confronted by other personalities and responsibilities right away. Like you said, you were right out of high school. At the ripe old age of 18, there you are, in a gigantic system.
Yeah.
And then you had to learn to deal with it and to the discipline and all that. Where me at the ripe old age of 18, I didn't know what I was doing or where I was going, So yeah, it's absolutely. And for me, it's definitely a missed calling. I regret.
Yeah.
I sat at 19 years old. I sat in the Navy recruiter's office and was ready to go, and I backed out like a coward at the last minute. And I've always bitterly regretted that. But anyway, that's me. We're not here to interview Fred.
When we see,
Thankfully,
when we say Navy, you were in naval aviation, right? Did you actually fly planes, or were you just?
No, I did not fly. I started out working, and then through a series of consequences, I guess I'd say, I ended up taking care of logbooks and aircraft maintenance discrepancies, and it was pretty much an office job for the last 18, 17 years of my naval aviation career.
So administrative in there, and that's probably why you made
leadership
such
at an early age.
Probably why you were as grandmaster. That's probably, those skills were probably quite handy inside that realm. I get that.
But on paper, you have the textbook life. So you served in the military. You got out and graduated cum laude from Jones College in 2001.
Yep.
Wow.
I figured out early in my naval career that the best way to get a college education was to let them pay for it. So
that is true. It is
There
expensive.
were a lot of late nights, going to work and then going to school and coming home and getting up and doing it all over again. But
Oh, you had to work through
it was well
college?
worth it.
What kind of
I'm
work were
sorry.
you doing at that time?
I was in the Navy.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you
I
were
would
doing,
work,
okay.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so I would work during the daytime and went to school at night.
Yeah.
And what did you go to school for?
So when I first started attending college, I had the notion of getting an aviation degree. So I went to Embry-Riddle, and then I transferred duty stations, and I got involved with a couple guys, a couple shipmates of mine that were heavily involved in the early stages of computers. And I changed my major rather, to computer information. So I was within, I think, 10 or 15 credits of graduating with a bachelor's degree in aviation maintenance when I changed and had to pretty much start all over again. So I've got a lot of credits.
You were mainly interested in computer science, right?
I was. I got involved with a couple guys that were, early computer users, and it just took off from there.
It seems like your whole life was busy at that kind of time in your life because you were in the military, you're getting an education, you actually got married at some point in that time frame, right?
Oh yeah, I got married 2 years into my naval career.
Right.
And then you had
which was probably one of the big deciders of why I continued on instead of getting out.
To support your new wife.
Yeah. She liked to have a supper on the table, So
Right. Yeah.
that was the way I could do it.
Well, it's true when a young man takes a wife and starts a family at a young age, man. It tends to cause that young man to step up, and to
That's a new
take responsibility. It's that's why throughout history, young men got married young, because it was one of the ways to get them to focus. Nowadays
Right.
the average man is getting married in his late 30s, and it's
Right.
I don't think it's working out all that good, but that's a conversation for another show, I would assume.
Yeah. But then it wasn't long after you had a son.
I did.
A son.
He was January of '89.
January of '89. That makes him Aquarius, probably.
I'm not up on my astrology.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother
not
show.
either.
So that was all. I mean, you were a young man when you were doing all that. You're in the military. You're getting an education. You're married now. You have a kid. That's a lot of responsibility early in life. And is that something you kind of always wanted, or did that just happen to you?
I think, I think the good Lord just said, he put things in my life when I needed them.
Right.
I don't, yes, our son was planned. I was in the Navy. You go from sea duty to shore duty to sea duty to shore duty. And, Holland and I had discussed that I didn't want to have a child and immediately go out to sea. I needed to be around to help out. So we were getting ready to come off of sea duty and go to shore duty, and I knew I was going to be around for 3 years. So, we kind of planned that out, and I think it worked out well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My youngest son was a submariner, and he's 8 years. He did 8 years in there, and he was torn between it, because those guys are out for 3 months straight.
Oh yeah.
And under the water, and he loved it, but he wanted to have a family, and he knew that's not. He didn't really want to, have that. There's a lot of guys who are submariners who do have that, where their wives, the picture of the wives sitting at the dock waiting for the boat to come in. He didn't want that, so that's why he got out at 8 years and started his family. He just got married 2 years ago. They're just getting ready to have their first kid. So same thing, It's just it's that, I don't know, man. It's that disciplined life. I'm so grateful that he decided to go into the military like he did. Like I'm sure you are. That it
Right.
it gave you all of those advantages, that a lot of us, didn't take advantage of. So what do you see, Most Worshipful? Where are we at currently? As far as Masonry goes, what's the good and the bad? What do you see? What's positive of late? So far we're 8 months into the new year here. On a Grand Lodge, I'm not asking you to, comment
kind
on
of
anything,
are,
but I'm kind of asking.
You kind of are.
I kind of want to know from a past grandmaster, current, past grandmaster, what do you see? What's the positive? What's going on? That's good. That's positive about our craft.
So, with everything, there's always cycles. Nothing is ever just steady.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything goes through a cycle, and Freemasonry is no exception. We go through cycles. We go up and we go down, and currently I see Freemasonry on an uptick myself.
I wonder how they got on an uptick.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Most Worshipful Foster had something to do with that.
Right.
Well, so when I was grandmaster, every grandmaster wants to go into office and say, all right, how am I going to leave my mark on the fraternity?
Right.
Right.
There are some that say, I'm going to do this, and this is what I'm doing. And then there's a lot of others that say, what are we going to do? So when I became grandmaster, I got the grand line, and we, during my deputy grandmaster year, as we were traveling around, we talked about it, and we interviewed quite a few brothers. And of course, we all know that Brother Chris rose to the top because he had a program that he was doing in his lodge where he was using social media to get the word out about Freemasonry.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that is so brilliant, because, if you look in a newspaper back in the 50s, 40s, 30s, lodges there were little places in the newspaper that said, hey, our lodge is meeting on this night, and we have a stated meeting, and we're going to do some business, or, and back in those days, that was how people got information, was through a printed newspaper. Now it's not so much. I mean, everything is pretty much digitized. Everything is online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our whole
Even
lives.
newspapers, I don't, when I was a kid, one of the jobs that I had was a newspaper boy. I
Me
went
too.
around and delivered newspapers.
Made
Right.
good money doing that for years.
Yeah. I don't know that anybody ever does that anymore.
There's a car that drives by early in the morning at my house and throws newspapers to selected houses out of their car as they drive
Really?
by. Yeah, yeah, and I think it's the New York Times will do that still.
It won't be much longer.
Yeah. Now, of course, the New York Times, as it goes flying out of the car, will break your driveway, because it's huge as it is. I mean, that's a gigantic waste of paper, in my
Cars
opinion.
not slowing down, right? They're just zipping by and throwing them out.
Right. But anyways, yeah, your point is well taken that, you helped spearhead that the new medium, for reaching people was digital. And it's a digital medium that that you were instrumental in helping Chris bring that to the forefront.
Before that,
I think that's the other way around. I think Chris was instrumental in bringing that to the craft, because through his efforts of holding classes, and at first he held them in person, and then he went and had Zoom informational classes, and he spent a lot of time, and I'm gonna put Chris out there. He spent a lot of time with individual lodges, helping them develop their own program and show them what to do. And a lot of it, if they followed his advice and his instruction, I'm going to say they were pretty successful on it. And I'm gonna blow the horn of a lodge here in my area, Cable Lodge number 116 in Green Cove Springs, Florida. they were on a downtick. They were really they were struggling. And they got a couple brothers in there, and one of them is Earl Higginbotham, brother Earl, who
we know him.
Went to Chris's class and learned what to do, and
the man
and
with
yes,
the most infectious smile in Freemasonry.
Oh yeah, Earl is he's very unusual and a great Mason and a great brother, but he took that on, and yes, Grand Lodge incentivized it.
Yeah.
We said, hey, if you go and spend this amount of money, we'll reimburse you. So the lodge didn't really have any. There wasn't a downside for a lodge to try this.
You really gave them no reason to say no. They had every reason to say, we'll give it a shot.
Correct. And Brother Earl took that on. And, the last time I talked to him, he had, I think, 8 brothers in the pipeline going through getting their degrees to become members of that lodge. And it's been a great program. And one of the things that, I don't want people to forget is that you still have to guard the West Gate.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Just because somebody can fog a mirror doesn't mean they're going to make a great Mason. So this program just brings them to the door. And once they get to the door, the lodges need to weed those people out that are not going to make good Masons and not let them join. But, I mean, I could be wrong, but if I see an uptick in membership, because now people are starting to realize that there are a lot of young men out there right now that are searching for what Freemasonry could offer them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they don't know where to look.
No. They don't even know we exist. They've never heard of Freemasonry.
They don't know the questions to ask. So, when you put that out there and you bring them to your front door, that gives you a great opportunity to do what we're supposed to do, make good men better.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, even I won't take credit. I won't take credit for that because you came before you were the grandmaster. It was the year before. I think you were there.
Yep.
You came to our district, and I don't know if you said this at all of the visits, but you said something that there were 2 of us that stood up and gave you a standing ovation, and I'm sure you didn't even notice, but we were like so happy to hear your message. It was a difficult time for our country. This is, I think, the beginning of the severe division we were starting to have, and people were really drawing lines in the sand online and being pretty aggressive in the way they were talking.
Oh yeah.
And it was really frustrating because I see a lot of Masons that have their names on trestle boards and, are known to be Masons. They're showing it all over their profiles on social media, and they would say things that could be pretty offensive to people. And, as a leader representing Freemasonry, people that aren't Masons don't know if they're speaking for the fraternity or themselves as a person, so it gets really confusing. And you stood up and said, hey, do me a favor, just spend 10 seconds thinking before you hit submit when you're posting on social media.
Yeah.
Maybe just don't say everything that comes into your head. Maybe think about a different way to phrase it or be a little more, friendly and think about brotherly love. And that resonated with me because I was really struggling at the time with what I was seeing from my own brothers.
Oh, well, and that's, that's where that really struck a chord with me is I would, I have a maternal brother, an actual blood brother, and I would never go up to him and say some of the stuff that I was reading online.
Yeah.
I would never say it to him in his face. And I'm pretty sure that the people that were writing that stuff would never say that to somebody's face, especially their brother
or sister
or, whatever. But, they were willing to put that out there online and have their brothers read that stuff. And, then you got to try to go sit in lodge. And, there's a good reason why you don't discuss religion or politics in lodge because it is very divisive.
Yeah.
And it just brings turmoil. So for us to live in peace and harmony, you don't do stuff like that.
Right.
And that's the message I was trying to get across to brothers. And to a point, I think it worked. Either
It
that
did.
or
Yeah.
people stopped letting me read their Facebook pages.
No, I think you're right. I think people took notice because you're such a, like everyone loved you. You just have a
Oh,
personality that exudes some kind of
Well,
like.
it's a leadership quality.
It's like an authentic, honest, like
Right.
you said, straight shooting person, and that is something I think everyone's drawn to, and when they're in a leadership role, when they feel like
well,
they're
I think it
getting.
was. I think it was just I brought it to their attention that, hey, you're possibly creating a bigger divide, and they thought about
Yeah.
it and agreed and said, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a new culture certainly within our lodge of acceptance, and that trying to figure out how we can best work and agree, attitude. We in our lodge have we have a kind of a culture that says that you can talk about anything you want in lodge as long as it's done with gentleness and respect for the other person that you're talking to, and that
Correct.
has kind of caught on. And we had a an esoteric discussion group a couple of months ago where the hottest topics of religion and politics and you name
Sexual orientation.
it came up
All the difficult
in a
stuff.
group of
20 guys?
I think 6 of our lodges in our district were
Yeah.
represented there, several sitting worshipful masters,
Sure.
and even a couple of EAs in the room. And we had this great, flowery conversation about the hottest topics. And at the end of the day, everybody remained brothers. No one was offended or
It
hurt.
was a real conversation.
It was a real
It wasn't a
conversation.
shouting
It was amazing.
Oh, that's
It was a
great.
conversation.
Yeah. And I caution anybody listening who thinks, yeah, I'm going to go try that right now. I would say stop and
It's
stop
very-
yourself and remember that any conversation you have within the lodge or as a Mason in public must be seasoned with that gentleness and respect for others. And sometimes gentleness and respect means just keeping your mouth shut, just not saying
There you go.
anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to. The attitude is that do my words have my brother's best interest in heart? Sometimes it's better just not to say anything and just put your arms around a brother, and just agree to disagree and or just move on to something different,
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in today's society, we've lost that ability to have a conversation.
Yeah.
We're quick to bring ourselves down and respond with insults or
Right.
Yeah.
violent tendencies instead of actually thinking about what somebody's saying and then responding intelligently. We just evolve right into, well, that's just wrong, and I hate you, and
Right.
your
Yeah.
opinion doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
We talked about that, I think, in our last podcast. We're going over some of the lecture things that we can talk about, and that was definitely one of the things that came up is understanding. What we like to say is Freemasonry gives you training wheels for life.
Yeah.
Because
There you go.
the system teaches you how to behave with each other. And you almost, 98% of the time when you're in a lodge or around a lodge and there's brothers, they do treat each other the right way.
Right.
They do. Even when they're mad,
Absolutely.
even when they're not agreeing with each other, they've learned how to have respect for each other and
Right.
a little bit of tolerance for each other. And so we talk about those are training wheels that at some point you got to take off and go out into the real world and do that too out there. And that was really the problem. You'd see someone in lodge and it's a different person than you'd see online. Like, who is that person?
Well,
Right. Yeah. We've been kind of going through that with a well-known brother out there, and just absolutely just dumping all kinds of hateful speech on his Facebook page. And
It's a little bit, I've seen much worse.
yeah, right. But when hey brother, can you maybe reconsider, that kind of direction that you're going in? It's like, if you don't like it, get off my page, get lost, all that stuff. And it's just like, our attitude is you're still an active Mason in good standing. Therefore, we owe you respect, but we don't have to listen to it and we don't have to be a part of it, So we decided to just move on from that particular brother, and because that's all we can do.
Exactly.
We can't
Fighting each other doesn't get anybody.
Fighting with each other doesn't get anybody. I
Like you
think
said, sometimes just stop talking if you're not
like
contributing.
Is that what you're saying to me right now? Because that
No. I'm saying that's a lesson I've learned. You can't police.
No, you can't. And I think this podcast is dedicated to that. Chris comes from a center left viewpoint.
Sure,
I come from a
fair.
center right viewpoint, and the two of us have conversations all the time. And
I look forward to them.
I look forward to them too. It's enriching.
Yeah.
And we gain each other's perspective, and he has the right to speak into my life and change my mind, and I have the same right to speak into his life. That only happens through, what the basics of Freemasonry, man, where we treat each other as brothers. I have my brother's best interest at heart in everything that I do. And I mean, I say this all the time on the podcast. Where are you going to find a fraternity or an organization that teaches that lives that? You're not going to find it anywhere else. And I think that's one of the reasons why, as we go online into the digital marketplace and show people what Masonry really is, it's probably one of the reasons why it's ascending so quickly, in my opinion.
Well, and you get two things. One is going back to the brother that's maybe inappropriate online. You can whisper wise counsel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And that's, as Masons, that's what we're taught. If you see a brother that's erring, you whisper wise counsel. There's nothing that says he's going to take it.
Right.
So, you give them the advice and they take it or leave it. So you got to leave it up to them. But, even if there's only, you got to remember, going back to being able to talk to one another, that even if there's only two of you, you're probably not going to agree on everything.
Right.
So it's okay to disagree. It's how you disagree.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of things that my neighbor, and I don't really know my neighbor, but I'm sure there's a lot of things that they do that I don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hate them.
Right.
Yeah, and if you saw them in trouble and in need, you'd help them.
Regardless.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You'd put aside any of the, those differences, and you'd help them, because that's the right thing to do. That's what it means to be part of the human family. We've so lost that in this country. We are so divided. The left versus right ruse has kind of has infected every aspect of our lives. And it's just become this, you either, if you don't agree with everything that I'm about, then I can't help you. I can't be a part of your life. I can't be open to you. And it's just absolutely killing us out there. It's cut off all hope of any kind of societal healing cannot start until we get rid of that and begin to love our neighbor as ourself again.
Well, more and more when we talk to these brothers, this is something they really are looking for from the fraternity. They
absolutely.
Oh, wait, there's a safe environment where I'm not going to deal with this stuff that's out there in the world. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that.
Exactly.
I think we have the answers here in the fraternity. We've just got to get the word out more now.
Right.
Because
and the social media marketing program that you're very involved in has done a wonderful job, spreading the word and kind of putting that light out there that says, hey, come over here and let's talk, and because you're probably looking for exactly what we need.
Right.
Okay, now let's go there. So you're talking about the Grand Lodge Marketing Reimbursement Program that you started. Now,
well, the Grand Lodge officers that were in office when I was grandmaster, we started it.
Sure. I was there the day I think it was born, and you were definitely leading the conversation. I'll put it that way. And so what I'm curious of, because I saw like the everyday man side of that story myself firsthand. I saw a Grand Lodge officer that appeared to be doing something radically different than had ever been done, and being quite bold and getting his entire line involved. and them buying into it as well, which is an important part of leadership, especially in Freemasonry. But what I'm curious of is your side of that story. Was it difficult for you to communicate your vision to people, or were they very accepting early on? And like, how difficult was it for you to get that kind of a thing going on from your side?
Yeah. So when I talked to, the Grand Lodge officers and other administrators, they said, hey, because I don't think there's ever been a grandmaster that's gone into office that says, I want to hurt the fraternity. Right. We all sacrifice a lot to get in line and say, okay, one day I'm going to be the leader. And that sacrifice is generally, I want to help the fraternity. What can I do to make the fraternity better when I'm out of office than when I'm going into office? Mm-hmm. And that was, I don't know what made me think of it or what brought it to, but I saw what you were doing and I heard stories and I said, on a bigger scale, that would help our fraternity. And I started talking to, the deputy grandmaster, senior grand warden, junior grand warden, the candidates that were, trying to get elected. And you could see it in their eyes when you started talking. They were like, oh, yeah, that'd be a great thing to do. So we developed this program. The grand secretary and grand treasurer were involved. And, we all got together, put our heads together and came up with this program. And then the big question was to you, Brother Chris, would you be willing to help us out? And of course, you jumped right on board and said, sure. And I think that it's just grown immensely and it's doing a great job.
It's a great tool that the Grand Lodge really is providing to the lodges that they need desperately.
I think it's a testimony, too, to my partner's tenacity, because I've talked to him over these couple of years about this program ever since I became involved through his program. By the way, that's the reason why I'm here today. Yeah. But it was that there was no way that this man was going to give up. He was wrestling that bear every single day, and the bear finally said, "Fine."
It was magical for me when Most Worshipful Foster shocked me and took me aside. I was not prepared for the conversation we had, along with all the other Grand Lodge officers.
Right.
And I'm Mr. Nobody over here.
I think it was more of, oh my God, this guy's going to ask me to do a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of time and effort.
Honestly, the opposite. I thought in that moment, what did I do wrong? What did I do to cause this? Like, this is not good. There's like 4 guys here with gold collars. I don't think this is normal. And I was really scared. But yeah, it turns out it was a good conversation.
It was a course changing conversation. It really changed the course. And I think we'll look back on that conversation that started the whole thing, that brought you in, Chris, and through the initiative that Most Worshipful Foster put together in his Grand Lodge. That moment, that movement was absolutely going to be pivotal in Florida, Masonry for the state of Florida, and perhaps even beyond. And I think it also ties into this new movement towards continuing, the 5 to 7 year plan of the worshipful master, not just doing his thing and then leaving, but taking the mantle of the 5 year plan that he came into and adding another year to it to push it forward so that we have that continuity. And that's a big conversation happening right now. I saw it in Grand Lodge at the communication.
And that's time. Most Worshipful Foster's mark also. I think this is what you did here really did kind of bring that to the forefront of, we really need to look at continuation of certain programs that Grandmaster set up and continuity.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I preached that the entire time was, we've got to stop inventing the wheel every year. If we got a good wheel, let's use it. So
Yeah, it's
And I even
good.
see that in lodges. I talk to junior wardens and senior wardens, and hey, what are you planning on during your year? Well, I'm not planning on anything because maybe I won't get elected. So, and I think, and Brother Chris, you're probably experiencing this, that from the time you get installed as master to the time you hand the reins over to the next guy, it goes quick. There's
Very
not a
quick.
whole lot of time to
Nope.
think and implement stuff. And you really need to start thinking about, how are you going to better your lodge as senior deacon, junior warden? Don't wait until right before you get elected, because you're going to run out of time real quick.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, we've seen that firsthand. There are certain people I personally know and been friends with that started planning their year 4 years in advance.
Right.
And they lined up like 25 huge things they were going to wait until their year to do. And then their year came and it just exploded because the reality was
Right.
your plans don't mean anything if it's not the lodge's plan.
Yeah,
Your
and-
plans aren't going to
Exactly.
go far.
Right. And
Exactly.
what I see by the lodge's plan is that the 5 to 7 year
Yeah.
ongoing plan
Right.
makes that possible.
Yeah.
Right? Because you and I remember coming up to Chris on right around June 1st. And I don't know if this is true. You tell me if I'm right, on
Lies.
this, Chris. But I said to him, how's it feel to be 6 months into it? And he kind of looked at me like, holy crap, it's been 6 months.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I failed already if it's 6 months. Sheesh.
It's like, what? Wait, it's half over?
Well, even now, like right after Grand Lodge, shortly after, I feel like, and I'm sure you understand, Most Worshipful, my thinking has changed towards passing it to the next year already. I'm
Right.
already trying to make that transition happen now.
Right.
Rather
yeah,
than I'm not pushing any kind of agenda. I'm in a phase where I'm like getting people really ready to take over tomorrow, and making sure the continuity is going to happen. And I'm already trying to step back from things because I
Right.
don't want it to be a hard transition when it happens.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, that the days of, well, this is my year, we're going to do what I want.
Yeah,
The lodge's name, just because you become worshipful master, the lodge is still going to retain its name. It doesn't become, Jeff Foster Lodge number 267.
Right.
Well, I
in
like the
my
sound of
case, it
that
was
lodge.
Still Orange Park Lodge. Well, I don't, because you can't have a lodge named after a living past grandmaster. So to get a lodge named after you, you got to do one very permanent thing, and
okay.
I'm not ready to do that.
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, that's
Good.
right. That's
Please
right.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, the lodge, just because they've elected you as junior warden, senior warden, worshipful master, and it even goes to just because you got elected as junior grand warden, senior grand warden, deputy grandmaster, or grandmaster, you need to push the fraternity or a group as a whole, not just this is my 1 year to shine mentality, because that does nothing for the fraternity. And
No,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we've seen it. We've seen it.
sure.
We've seen some lodges in real dire straits because the worshipful master is literally trying to make it about him.
It's amazing how much damage you can do in a
And
short amount of time.
The
with,
shock waves are literally
yeah.
reaching our entire
it doesn't
district.
take long.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
All
It's-
you got to do is get in there and aggravate a couple brothers, and they stop coming to lodge.
Yep.
And, then a couple more stop coming to lodge.
Yep.
And pretty
Yeah.
soon you have nobody showing up.
Yeah, it's a volunteer organization, and they forget that. That when I go to work and my boss is, giving me a hard time about something, I can't just not come anymore.
Right.
But here at Lodge, if it gets really bad,
Well,
I mean,
that's-
I'm just done. I didn't sign up for some guy yelling at me or doing all of these political moves and all that. I have no tolerance for that, and most men don't. We didn't come here for that.
Well, it's too easy to vote with your feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Exactly.
just say, okay,
Exactly.
if this is how it's going to be, I'll just go watch TV tonight. No problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll hang out with the
Exactly.
wife. Yeah,
And once you do that 2-3 times, it's really hard to get them back.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, it is. Once you get out of the habit of going to lodge, it's real easy to get into the habit of not going to lodge, easier than getting into the habit of actually showing up.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. And then you end up with all the brothers that they faithfully pay their dues, but they just won't walk into the door.
Yeah.
We have a lot of brothers like that.
Oh, yeah.
They faithfully pay their dues because there was a time when they were very active in lodge, and something happened. Whether I don't know whose fault it was. As a personal thing happened, and they still have an investment in Masonry. That's why they continue to pay their dues every year. But they're not
right.
They're not coming back in until somebody reaches out to them and says, "Hey, this is what's happening now." And I'm hoping that our lodge we do have an initiative to reach back to active members and make phone calls to them. It's a little difficult, but we're slowly working through it and just trying to ask brothers who are faithfully paying their dues for years and years, but have not come to lodge. Hey, man, why aren't you coming? And what can we do to get you back in? And it's a worthy initiative. We have 380, I think it is 380 active members, so it's a big list to go back through. But I know I've signed up to do it.
Yeah.
And a couple of other brothers have signed up to do it. We haven't seen a lot of fruit from it, but it's definitely something that's in the works.
Well, what I found, because
nice.
I got a list from the secretary, and I made calls early in my year. I had this grand idea. I'm going to call every member personally as the master.
In a weekend.
I got through about 15 names this year.
Right.
But, in that small sampling, there were 2 dead brothers.
Right.
That we didn't even know had passed.
And their dues are still being paid by their estate. Right.
And we're paying per capita for them still. And we never, did anything for the family. It's just that I was really upset by that.
That's upsetting,
small sampling that I did. It even happened yesterday. I had a 50-year presentation come from Grand Lodge, and I called the brother, and his wife said he passed.
Oh.
He would have loved this, but he passed.
That's terrible.
That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. And that's something that we're working through in our lodge, and that's part of the ongoing. Next year, when Zach is Worshipful Master, he'll have to deal with it as well. And we're just going to keep working through these issues because it doesn't stop when Worshipful Burns hands the mantle over to up and coming Worshipful Zach Weegley. Thank you. Sorry, Zach.
That goes back to what Most Worshipful Foster said in the beginning with the social program. He cautioned, be careful about the Westgate.
Yeah, that's right.
So anybody you let into your lodge can become the master of that lodge.
That's right.
And it's our responsibility. We're not advancing people just one chair by one chair because you did the time. You have to think about who best can work for the lodge.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
And if you see problems, recognize it. Don't let it just go, because we've seen that in a few short months, a problem in leadership can do damage that's going to take years to fix.
Yeah,
absolutely. It could destroy a lodge.
Yeah, and I know it's hard to come out of a hole once you're in it, and so that could put them in a tailspin that really could take the lodge down completely if it's not fixed.
Yeah, well, because it's a whole year. And when you say, it could destroy a lodge, that's a very real statement, because that person is in charge for an entire year, and you can do terminal damage to a lodge in a year's time for sure.
It's just like our country. We have a beautiful country, a beautiful system of government, a perfect, almost perfect document that we guide ourselves by, and through people having an idea that, it's fine. It's always going to be fine. We're always going to have this. No. You have to protect it. Yeah. We might not always have this. It's the same for our lodges. I know I see so many people that think, I was here for so long, it's going to be fine. People say that, and it makes me so mad. It's not going to be fine if you think like that.
I visited.
No.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but you can find, go to some of the lodges that have real small numbers after them, that were there towards the beginning of Freemasonry in Florida, the Grand Lodge, and just visit.
Yeah.
And, attrition and, I'm trying to think of another word, but as Masons, we get into a rut. We elect somebody to the east, and they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that, and the next thing you know, you've lost what you're supposed to be doing in lodge, and it becomes just another meeting,
right?
And the next thing you know, your membership is not showing up just for another meeting.
Yeah,
and we've kind of lost that a little bit in Masonry. We need to get back to it.
It's the culture, really.
Exactly.
We need to, and that, man, this is why I wanted to talk to you so badly, because you get it. You get it. When I was coming up in the line, I thought people were crazy for starting to plan their years in advance. I'm like, look at how fast things are changing. I'm not going to have the same lodge in 4 years that I'm sitting in today. And I don't even know if I'll make it there. So every idea I had, I brought it up to whoever was the master. We tried to do it. So when it came time for me to be in the chair, I had no agenda, because, every idea I had, we already tried.
or implemented.
Yeah. And so my whole push for our lodge is just to maintain the pureness of Freemasonry as much as we possibly could. And that's what we wanted for our line this year. And to start our 5-year plan was to just get back to the most basic tenets of Freemasonry, that we're going to love each other, we're going to be passionate about Freemasonry, and we're always going to act like Masons. And I think that's where you have to start, right? You got to start at the beginning. You got to deal with the culture before you can deal with the lodge building or the membership problems. If your culture's not right, you can't fix anything else.
That's right. Yeah, and culture is changed by changing hearts and minds. That's how you change a culture. You can't mandate it from on high, because it's not going to work. You're only going to reinforce people's stubbornness by trying to make them do something that they don't understand. Through clearly defining what it is that you'd like to do and engaging people where they're at, with that mindset of, hey, this is our lodge. One of the questions we ask people all the time is, do you care if your great-grandson is a member of this lodge? Would that be something that you would work towards? Does it matter to you if your lodge is here in 25 years? Does that matter to you? And that's the mindset and culture we're trying to instill in people. It's like this is your lodge, but it's also your great-grandchildren's lodge if you'll have it, if you'll work towards it,
Yep.
It's this beautiful gift to humanity that, like, it takes a lot of work to keep it protected.
That's right. And we're actually kind of behind the 8 ball. We want to keep it protected, but we have to rebuild it, so to speak. We have to get back to that place where, our lodge, 147, if you look at the newspaper clippings of the 1950s and 60s, that lodge was in the paper every weekend, man. They were active in everything.
Yeah.
The mayor was a Mason of our lodge, and it's not that way anymore. There's a famous picture in our local newspaper from the late 60s where the Masonic parade was going down Main Street, and it was massive, and everybody came out to participate in this Masonic the lodge parade, and it was active in the community and stuff, and we got to get back there. We got to get away from hiding behind all of the misinformation and cowering to it. We're real bold on telling people what Masonry truly is. That we're not a conspiracy. We're not this. We're not any of that stuff.
It's one of the main missions of our podcast, really. Every time we record, I imagine I'm talking to somebody that doesn't know anything about Freemasonry.
That's right, yeah.
And try to make sure, because it is for Masons, obviously, they want to talk about esoteric stuff. But in my mind, before I was initiated, I consumed all the stuff I could to try to understand it better.
Right.
And there were certain YouTube Masons who were making content for people like me that aren't Masons to tell them things that they could understand. And so I think that's really a good way we can try to get ahead of that a little bit. We can, because there's a lot we can be open about.
Absolutely. And a lot of brothers don't understand that, that, we're a secret society. We're not really a secret society. We have secrets that society doesn't know about.
Right.
But, there's a lot of organizations that have stuff that only members know.
pretty much every
And they don't-
organization, if you
Right.
think of it.
Yeah, that's right.
There's
Yeah.
always something that's not public.
Right, but Freemasonry has been around for so long that there's a lot of conspiracy theories and a lot of misinformation. And I think it's only because we've been around for so long.
Yeah.
But
And
there's a lot of information that people should know.
Yeah.
And Ed, we're in a day and age where a conspiracy theory goes a long way online. Everybody wants
Oh my goodness!
Lots of clicks
Right.
and views.
lots of clicks and stuff. But
Subscribe.
and I know that the conspiracy stuff is not helpful for our cause. But I got to be honest, and I say this all the time. I kind of dig it.
It is a double-edged sword.
I
'cause-
kind of like the fact that they look at me a little mysterious. I got some
Yeah.
family members up in North Carolina who just totally don't get it.
Yeah,
You
me
know, and
too.
I'm more than happy to let them keep thinking what they're thinking.
Right.
It's just give them a little wink. And I was up there visiting, and we were getting breakfast, and the one family member I'm thinking about, there happened to be a brother, Mason, in line to pay to leave the restaurant. And I could tell because he had a tattoo on his back calf. So I went up to him and I shook his hand. And just said, "Hey, brother, it's good to see you, brother. It's good to see a brother up here in North Carolina." And we kind of did the chest bump handshake thing,
Yeah.
And as I walked away, I could see them looking at me like, "What did you just do?" And it was just like,
your family.
yeah. A couple of extended family members,
Yeah.
because they truly buy into this entire Illuminati thing, and it's just like,
Oh.
it's like, you know what? I'm going to let you go. Go ahead. Go ahead and believe that.
Yeah.
Even though you've known me since you were a child,
Right.
you've known me since you were a little kid. You know my faith. You know my conduct. But go ahead.
Yeah.
You can listen to the online guys as opposed to listening to your uncle, whatever.
There you go. Yeah, along those same lines, when I was coming in my early days of masonry, people would kind of approach me and talk about that same line of thinking. Oh, you guys are the Illuminati. You have this great treasure map somewhere that's and I would always just kind of tilt my head a little, look at them and go, so George Washington was a Mason. Ben Franklin was a Mason. We've had astronauts that were Masons. Do you think that those people would be as great as they are if they really followed those lines of what you're thinking they are?
Yeah.
Right.
And, they kind of, you could see the little light flicker in their eyes.
Yeah. And maybe
That's true.
it is
100%.
absolutely true. And I mean, fantastical thinking. It kind of lives in that online orb, right? So this fantastical conspiratorial thinking, and you bring it into your head, and it lives in your head until you meet someone like us, and we ask questions like that. Think about what you're saying, for a second. Just let me just bring
You've known
2
me
or
for
3
40
simple
years,
facts.
and
You've
you
known
think-
me forever.
All of a sudden, I started eating babies one day.
All of a sudden, I'm eating babies and doing things with goats, and it's like,
Right.
and you can just see them deflate a little bit. There's a little bit of disappointment, like where, wait, you mean it's not a conspiracy? You mean it's just a bunch of men trying to lift each other up to better society and themselves and their families?
Yeah.
That's no
Exactly.
fun. What is that? I don't care about that.
It's true. I have family like yours, and it's fun in a way.
I'm sorry, it's just a little bit fun.
You can't really engage people that have a preset.
Right.
It's really not wise to, in my opinion.
No, you're right. You don't want to enter into
Not
it because
really.
then you're just you become like
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it says in
Yes.
Proverbs, right? If you argue with people like that, you tend to become like them. If
Yeah.
somebody's watching you, the word is fool. That's a pretty harsh word, but if somebody is watching you trying to argue with a foolish person, that person is going to say to themselves, "Look, there's 2 fools,"
Right.
and you don't want that.
Exactly.
You don't want that.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a lot more fun because they'll, I was obsessed with learning the ritual work. And after I learned all that and got all the proficiency cards, I was like, what else can I do in my life? So I started to learn the piano, something I not really learned, but I memorized.
Oh, he learned it.
I didn't learn it. I just memorized. I kept the memory thing going. And my wife's family,
That's great.
they have a piano in their house. So one day they know I'm not a musical guy, but I sat down and played a little bit of classical music, you know, and they were like, "Whoa, did the Freemasons make you do that?" That's the kind of stuff I get from them. Like they'll just randomly, they're talking about like, you know, the cost of avocados, and they'll be like, "What do the Freemasons think about that?"
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, when we're sacrificing the Virgin, it's important to have avocados.
Exactly. You got to have fresh avocados. So.
It's just amazing what people think out there, and you know, like you said, it's just a little fun in a way.
Right.
You don't really engage. I'm not going to represent Freemasonry to people.
No, that's right. It's there's a saying in the scripture that talks about casting your pearls. This is another harsh saying, a harsh word. I don't mean it the way it sounds, but casting your pearls among swine. In other words, taking what is precious, taking what is precious to you and is important to you, and casting it before people who have absolutely no desire to understand it. And no concern whatsoever for how much you care about it. It's unwise. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, just be discerning and take for Chris and I know you as well, Most Worshipful. Masonry is important to us, and we're very passionate about it. And we think it has something to offer society. So to cast it before people who simply blow it off or want to disrespect you or it's not wise. And we don't engage that. I love them. They're like I was talking about my family members. I love them to death. I'd do anything for them. But honestly, I am not in the market to share with them something that they're simply not gonna understand or want to understand in any ways. You know. So it's I don't know why I got off on that rabbit.
well, and so if I can,
yeah, please do.
Oh, you can.
That is why, along that line of thinking, why we don't solicit membership in Freemasonry. Yeah. We wait for somebody to seek it out, because if they're looking for it, those are the type of people we want, because they're going to embrace our way of thinking. If you try to convert, and that may not be the best word to use, but
I understand.
If you're going to try to, you know, to convince somebody that doesn't want it, that this is who we are and this is what we do, they're not going to really accept it.
Right.
So that's why, you know, with what you were just saying, that's why we wait until somebody comes to us and says, you know, tell me about Masonry.
Right. Because then they have the mindset and the humility to be taught. They're teachable at that moment, you know, and then, you know, you just simply share the facts with them, you know, about what it truly is. And it works. It really does work. Because, I mean, we see all kinds of guys coming in to us, and
but they're very desirous of understanding how Freemasonry can help them understand the world better. And
right, yeah. And it's like you said, because
so
they had
exciting. It's like we're so lucky. It's just wave after wave of these people who are such high quality people.
Yeah, we're making new Masons every month.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I couldn't have imagined this 4 years ago.
Yeah,
it would have been unthinkable what we're doing.
Oh yeah,
what
absolutely.
We're seeing.
It's because the program is initiated or has kind of stemmed from Worshipful Burns here,
Most Worshipful
Foster here. But it's kind of, we're at the fountainhead here, and we get the full benefit of the system. And of course, now Chris has been blessed with a lot of brothers who have come alongside him. John Schaefer being one of them. Shout out to John, who has really just picked up the mantle on doing the Sunday open house.
Yep.
And you know, calling these brothers every week. Every time we get names, you know, off the system, he calls them right away. He invites them down. They come down, and he schedules people to join him. Like I was down there the other day with him, and they sit and talk and give him a tour and give him a basic understanding of what it is, what they can expect, and then hands them a petition. And he's like 80% of the petitions he hands out come back.
This is what happens when you work a program properly. The Grand Lodge, these are the tools Grand Lodge is providing us. All we have to do is work them.
Yeah, and then continuing along that same line, what happened was we just got bombarded, and you know where I'm going with this. We got bombarded with new candidates, and all of a sudden we needed mentors, and we needed catechism instructors. We needed to engage them. We needed to do Masonry correctly so that it would engage them more and more into the ritual work and into the line and all of the serving side of it. So we've had to, and we have, go back to creating the proper Masonic structures.
Right, back to the basics.
Back to the basics within our house to make sure that when those men come in, they're properly mentored. The catechism instruction is done correctly and properly. The degree work is our degree work is getting pretty good. I got to say, it's really starting to get good. We've got our degree team.
Well, we have a state competition team largely made up of some 147.
Yeah, some 147, which is really. Anyways, the point is right. I know that
bragging now. We're just bragging.
Well, I can't brag. I am.
Nothing wrong with that.
They stuck me in as junior warden because it's very easy in the EA. But I am the turkey flying with these eagles because
nothing is easy when it comes to competition.
No, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. But I am thankful that I was not asked to be, senior deacon or something that requires actual skill because I am struggling. But we've got right worshipfuls and past deputy grandmasters and past instructors. And then there's me, the 2-year Master Mason. So I am honored. Don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely honored, and I am doing my best to step up and make sure I don't let anyone down. But this is clearly a rabbit trail I'm going down. But it's clearly been just an absolute privilege and absolutely just caused me to want to be do degree work more and more and more. And I'm going to try to tie this back to where we were, is that the degree work, being involved within the lodge and doing the lodge work is what makes Masonry exciting. And it's like I've said before on the show, it's like the cure for Masonry is Masonry.
Sure.
Doing Masonry correctly.
There's nothing that needs to be invented, or
we don't need to invent
Here.
anything. Just do it right.
Exactly.
And they will come, because it's awesome. It's exactly what men want,
Exactly.
May I ask you some personal questions before we go?
Sure.
Not too terribly personal, but I'm really curious. Before you became a Mason, which for you was 2004, if I'm correct.
Uh-huh.
So you had a life, obviously. You lived a full life before you joined Freemasonry. Was there anything in your pre-Masonic life that you think really set you up for what you became in Masonry? Working through all the chairs, the district, and then becoming a Grand Lodge officer and working through the Grand Line and serving as the grandmaster. And now for the rest of your life being an ambassador for Freemasonry, like before you became a Mason. Was there anything event that you can look at and say, I think this really was the start of what I was going to become as a Mason?
So I don't know. I mean, it was always, I guess, predetermined that I was going to join the fraternity. My great grandfather was a Mason, was master of Mattawan Lodge in New Jersey. My grandfather was a Mason. My dad was a Mason. So, just following in lines. And I look back and I say, my dad, he was one of those guys that if he told you he was going to do something, he did it. There was never any question about whether or not it was going to be done. And when I was young, I never really, that never occurred to me. That never really, popped into my head as he didn't need something in writing, to say he was going to do it. If he shook your hand and said that, I'll sell you my house for $10, and he shook your hand, you were buying his house for $10. And it took a little later on in life for me to realize, those traits in him.
Mm.
But as I grew up, as I matured, I saw those traits, and I was like, those are the traits that I want to emulate. And I can tell you right now, my dad will tell you, I was a rotten kid.
You mean
there were
you
times
were a
where he
kid?
said he well, exactly, and one of his favorite sayings is, there were times where he wouldn't even trust me to count nails in a barrel somewhere, but I think, joining the military and having a good work ethic instilled in me, and, the some of the traits that get instilled to you serving in the military of, you have responsibility, and now you have authority and responsibility, and, coming up. And one of the, and I'm going to digress a little bit, but one of the things that I will eternally be sorry for was that I didn't seek Masonry out while I was in the military. Earlier, that, I missed out on a lot, but I didn't know, because my dad's an old school Mason, and you don't talk about Masonry. So I never really knew what I was missing until after I got it. And then it was like, man, I wish I'd have sought this out earlier. But, I always thought, I was in the military. I didn't have time to belong to an organization and do anything because I didn't know. I was ignorant. And I tell people, anybody that'll listen, if you ever thought about being a Mason, you need to seek it out as early as possible. Don't wait until later on in life.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
Ever since I've joined, there's been people that I'm like drawn to, like a moth to a flame, because they're just great men. There's something about them. They're just great men. And like you're talking about, you can smell authenticness and that kind of like sincerity. And all of those men, when I do ask them, is there anything you regret or you wish you would have done? And they always say what you just said. I wish I had started sooner.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
They all say that. I just wish I had started sooner because this has been the greatest thing in my life.
Yep.
And they've served so much and given so much, but all they talk about, like you, is what you've gotten out of it, what it's given you. And all I see is, wow, you've sacrificed a lot.
I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
And your time, and a lot of sacrifice for something, and that's what I think the outside people don't get, is you're getting so much from it.
Yeah, that's right. It's
not money. You're not getting. I'm sure you haven't enriched yourself as a Mason or through Masonry.
Not financially.
That line.
No, but it's all been a labor of love, and it's. I would give until I cannot give anymore.
Yeah, and it's like we say all the time. Masonry is what men are looking for. It's a band of brothers. It's it's us holding each other up, something greater than ourselves, and our ritual work and the things we do, the teachings, the working tools, the understanding and enlightenment that Masonry brings to a man's mind. Within the context of being surrounded by brothers who are like-minded, is exactly what men are looking for. It's how God created us. He did not create us to be alone, fighting by ourselves, because a soldier who fights by himself is going to die. It's a guaranteed fact. But if you are strong within that regiment of, and now I'm talking like a military guy. If you're, I don't know how or why, but yeah, we're stronger together. I feel it. I was sitting in. We were doing an EA degree the other day, man, and I was sitting there in my chair as part of the degree team, and I swear I could become emotional.
I was
over
there.
it, yeah,
and it was just
feeling.
like, gosh, I love this.
There's something
place,
special,
man.
Yeah,
I love these brothers. They love me. This is what.
When the ritual work is good, you're getting an experience that hundreds of years of people have gotten just as good as you did, and there's something magical about getting to be part of it.
Yeah.
And you recognize that.
So if you're listening to this, and if you've listened this long, good on you. You're a hero to us.
They'll listen for hours because Most Worshipful Foster stuff.
That's right. We have the ultimate hook. But if you're listening and you're not a Mason, please, we say it all the time, go down to your local lodge and talk to them and find out what they're about.
Feel the energy for yourself.
Feel the energy for yourself. Get involved. And if you are currently a Mason and you're saying to yourself, well, I don't see any of that stuff at my lodge, there's a reason for that, because you haven't done anything about it yet. So get busy.
Exactly.
Get busy. If you see the need, be the need. If you see it, be it. Go do it. Get inside your lodge and make some positive changes and reach out to us. That's what this podcast here is for. We will help you. We know some big shots, man.
Yeah.
we got people, man.
So here's another one for you. And thank you for that. But we're talking to a man who is a military guy, has a family, joined the fraternity, literally worked through every chair. He was the secretary of the lodge for, 6 years?
God bless you.
6 years, yep.
Yep. Became a district deputy, committeeman, right? Went to the Grand Line. Like, he did everything the hard way, the way that you're supposed to do it. Earned the respect of everyone. Blazed trails with the social media campaign. You really, I think, were instrumental in part of what is happening with the Prince Hall situation.
Oh, God bless you.
Like, he's done just so much. And now, as a past grandmaster, the part that pains me is that these men have a sense of I need to go into the background and be in the shadows now. And it's like such a loss of the fraternity, I think, that you can't be as engaged as I wish you were and out there. But now you're here on our podcast, and you are a real person. You're a man, and you love this fraternity, and potentially everybody in the state of Florida that maybe are Masons but don't even go to lodge, don't go to the grandmaster visits. You have an opportunity to talk directly to them. Is there anything you would say to those Masons out there?
The only thing that I would encourage is, if you are not passionate about Freemasonry, do a little self-reflection and ask yourself, why has that flame extinguished itself? Because you were obviously passionate enough to seek it out. What happened to get that flame to go out? Why? Why did it go out? And then do something about that reason and see if you can't get that flame reignited and make your lodge and Freemasonry better.
I love that.
Yeah, that's right. And I like the word do some self-reflection.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where are you at with this? Yeah.
Stop pointing fingers at shadows and other things and look at yourself. What's got you upset? Was it just a little thing? Was it just a person? Was it a personal situation?
Yeah. Because I can guarantee you, if that's you out there, you're needed. We need you back.
Yes.
We need you back.
Absolutely.
We need you good and whole and strong and back amongst your brothers, and pushing forward, because our country, Masonry has something to offer this hurting country, and I think that's there's just no denying it, and it's gonna happen. We're going that way. It's ascending. It's growing, and we will see it back to its former glory.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm really encouraged because I've started to get an opportunity to travel more. I'm getting invited now to Master Mason associations to speak about the Grand Lodge marketing program.
Oh, nice.
And
Very nice.
Yeah, I was just at District 21, which is a huge district, 14 lodges.
Wow.
And
yes, they cover a lot of square miles, too.
Yeah, it's massive, that district. And that poor Right Worshipful Simpson has to make 4 visits to 14 lodges this year, and they are not close together. He's doing an amazing job. But what really impressed me about that is this was a somewhat hostile crowd to the ideas that I was talking about. And the Right Worshipful literally stood up and said, listen, guys, nobody's asking the real questions that you want to ask. Ask them. He's not going to get offended. You're not going to upset him. He's not going to melt. Say what you want to say. And it turned into an hour-long discussion at that Master Mason Association. The most passionate brothers. Master stood up. And these guys have been working tirelessly for like a decade, turning their lodges around almost single-handedly, some of them. And it's really encouraging because you see how passionate the people are all over the place about Freemasonry. And it just takes like one really passionate person to completely turn around a lodge.
Yeah, that's right.
And rally people.
I'm looking at one.
Well, I'm talking about the Brothers of District 21 personally. It was amazing to me to see that, and it gives me hope because the one that impressed me the most, he was pretty hostile. He was not hostile. He had no problems telling me to my face what he thought about my lodge and the program. He said, "Your lodge is broken, brother. Let me tell you," and it's because he didn't understand.
Right.
That's why he said that. So I had an opportunity to communicate with a guy who had an impression that was wrong. And we talked about it. I said, "Brother, my lodge isn't broken." Because he said, "Yeah, 350 members and you only got 30 people on the sidelines. That's horrible. I got 30 members and I have a higher percentage." And I'm like, "That's great. But my lodge isn't broken. We've lost half our membership in the last decade. We had 600 members."
Right. Yeah, right.
I'm in the same situation as you. It's just a different scale of the problem. And I'm the same as you. I'm, one guy over here trying to change things, and it's not easy. And, we started to bond over the same. We're the same.
Right. We're the same. The only thing that was lacking was an understanding.
Yeah.
Which
miscommunications
happens.
and misunderstandings.
Right. Love it.
And when we talk about things, and that's one thing I really have to say, right, Worshipful Simpson really impressed me. You can't shy away from the problems. You got to stare them dead in the face together and talk about them.
Yeah,
it's the only way they're ever going to change.
Yeah.
If you pretend they don't exist, you're going to have them forever.
Yeah, they'll take on a life of their own, which is always negative.
And to put a little light on you, now that you have spread that light and shown them, it's only going to take one lodge. One lodge is going to start doing good.
Yep.
And the other lodge, you're going to go, "Wow, look at that lodge." And they're going to follow in line.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
And the next
right.
thing you know it, we're going to be back to 80,000 members, 100,000 members. And it's going to be because of the effort and time that you're putting in.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I was telling those guys, like, this isn't a silver bullet, okay? There's no one answer to every problem, but this is a valuable tool that the Grand Lodge is gifting you. And if you don't use it, you're really doing your own lodge a disservice.
That's right.
I think those guys that were really passionate and worried about some of the aspects of it, they're worried you're going to let in riffraff. And
that's up to the individual lodge.
Right.
It's like we said starting off. You the West Gate, man. You got to. We're not telling you to take the gate down, man. What we're telling you is to open up a little bit, get some information out there. The men who have already, there are men out there who have theoretically raised their hand and said, "Yes,
exactly.
Yes, I'm thinking about something along the lines of Masonry," and we're and this program just gets us in front of them. That's it. They're already of a mindset, but they just don't have the information. That's all this is.
And the thing that those brothers don't realize, and I was able to successfully communicate to some of them, is. When you're in a situation where you only have 30 members, you're going to become desperate at some point.
Yeah, that's right.
And you will start taking anybody that can fog up a mirror, like Most Worshipful Foster said.
That's right.
Well,
and so
it's a great point. Great point.
You got to remember that back in the early days, lodges were small memberships. It was not unheard of for a person to be master several times because we didn't have mass transportation. It wasn't easy to get into a vehicle and travel 40 miles to a lodge.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much confined to just your local area. And those lodges that are small have more of a family feel to them.
Oh yeah.
If that's not the right words, I'm sorry, but
no, you're right.
But typically, what you're experiencing, where you have 300 members or 380 members, and you get 30 guys, that's about normal for lodges in Florida. Is they get about 10% of their membership that attend, meetings and do work in a lodge.
Yeah.
So that, you got different situations too, because 21 is kind of more of a rural
Right.
area,
Yeah.
where you're in more of a
Oh,
city area.
That definitely was a
So-
topic of discussion.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that was the topic of discussion, because it's just different environments.
Yes.
So you're the same, but you're not the same.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the great things about the fraternity is that every lodge, although we're all Masons, can have its own different culture and feel.
Of course.
there.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. I
Yeah.
think, because
It is.
It should
Absolutely,
be that way.
it is.
Yeah,
Your lodge should reflect your community, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's
right.
and that's the
naturally
beauty
how it
of
should
it.
be, yeah.
That's the beauty, and that's the beauty of visiting other lodges within your district and outside of your district, being that traveling Mason, because you experience, all the different cultures, all the different, the
Yeah.
people. I want to get out there. I wanted to go with you so bad, but I had motor corps that night. I couldn't go, so I'm definitely going on the next one.
Yeah, well,
I will not be denied.
Yeah, we have another one coming up in
Yeah,
another
yeah.
district, and I'm really excited about it because these, like I tell them, I'm not running for any office here. I'm doing this because I love the fraternity, like you guys. So
Right.
There you go.
How do we move the needle? This is one of the ways, and yeah. So with that being said, everything I just said to you, you spoke to the everyday brother out there who's not engaged. What would you say to the brother who is in the line, who's getting his MLT trainings? He's about to become an elected officer here in the next year or two. What would you say to that brother? Any advice or message you'd have for those guys who are actually about to become leaders in our fraternity in the coming years?
The only thing I would say is remember why you're in that position. When I was in the Navy, when we got promoted, and when you make the jump from E6 to E7, we would change uniforms. We would go from the working uniform to more of a khaki administrative office personnel uniform. You weren't down in the trenches digging the dirt, but we were always taught, when you made that jump, don't forget who got you there. You didn't get yourself there. The people that are around you were the ones that got you to where you're at. So just remember, when you become worshipful master of a lodge, you didn't get yourself there. You were helped along the way by the brothers of your lodge, and you need to be there for them. So, Most Worshipful Turlington, my little buddy, when he got elected, or was going through the line, or trying to get elected, he had a conversation with Most Worshipful Bob Trump, and I used to like to kid around with him, because Bob Trump told him, make sure the same size hat that you wear now fits your head when you become grandmaster.
Good advice.
And of course I always tease my little buddy that, he went out and bought a hat that was 2 sizes bigger at that time, so that it would fit when he was grandmaster. But that I thought that was great philosophical words of wisdom that he was given, to make sure that your head didn't grow so large that you forget the purpose of why you're there.
Yeah.
Which is really to serve, is what you're saying.
That's
Serve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
right.
Do you know Right Worshipful Doug Dobbs?
I do. Great man.
We interviewed him, and he said the exact same thing you just said when
that's
we
right.
asked that question.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Good men think alike.
Good. Yeah, that's right. Great men think alike. Well, on that note, Most Worshipful Foster, we want to thank you for taking the time out to sit with us for this hour and a half conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
About the craft that we love, and I am, as a young, I'm a 2-year Master Mason. I think maybe a little longer, but not
years,
not
it's
long.
the miles.
But I've had a lot of great experiences, and I've met a lot of men that I highly respect, you being one of them. And I echo what we said a little bit earlier. I just wish I had done this so much earlier in my life. And I think all three of us would agree when we say to anyone listening, don't wait. Don't wait. Investigate Freemasonry and get yourself involved and be a part of what's happening here, because you're surrounding yourself with great men who have done great things, man, and you will never regret it. Brother Chris, anything that you'd like to add before we sign off with Most Worshipful Foster?
Definitely like to give Most Worshipful Foster the last words and the chance to say anything he'd like.
Absolutely.
Here. But I would like to just say thank you also. You really, I had a passion for Freemasonry, but my involvement with you has lit it to another level. I mean, I have a white hot burning heat for Freemasonry.
This is true.
Nothing will stop. And you had a massive part in that for me personally. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for that. Personally, you were a great grandmaster and a great leader.
Well, thank you.
An example.
But I can reverse that and say that because of you, we had a pretty successful year, during my year as grandmaster. So, it's a two-way street.
I'm not fishing for those compliments, but I learned from a wise man to just say thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, we will end another amazing podcast of On the Level with Fred and Chris, our interview with Most Worshipful Foster. Most Worshipful Foster, anything on the way out that you'd like to sign off to our listeners?
I just want to thank you guys for having me. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope to see everyone soon.
Yep, we will definitely. Wherever you're at, wherever we're at, we will eventually meet, and of course, it will be on the level. I had to do it.
There it is.
I had to do it. So if you've listened to the podcast up to this point, you really are a hero of ours. If you have any questions or comments, please just email us, Fred at onthelevelwithfredandchris.com or Chris at the same longest email address on radio for a reason. And again, like we always say, or like we always try to say, now that you've heard what you've heard, go back to your lodge and build it strong.
Thank you, Most Worshipful.
Thank you, Most Worshipful. We'll see you guys.